Man, still gets me going. Kind of like a theme song, kind of coming in. Welcome back to another special episode of the Death Taxes and Sports Podcast. We're episode 99. Benjamin Holloway, or Ben Holloway. 99 episodes.
99, man. One more.
We're
Next
here.
next week, baby. 100 next
Exactly.
year.
Exactly. How you doing today, my friend?
Good. Always fun talking sports, man. I ain't never gonna be not in a good mood to talk sports.
Awesome.
That's
And
just what it is.
looks like we also have Rodney King's third cousin join us. Like he just woke up. Sir, how you doing?
Rodney King's third cousin.
That's a new one.
No,
That's a
no, I was just
maybe
saying,
it's not a
yeah,
new
know
one.
no.
I know I'm due for a haircut, but shit, that girl just come from my head.
That's why I said third cousin because you're not old. Like I didn't want to
I
say you
know,
look like him.
but also Rodney King's dead, so that was
Well,
like
well,
a double whammy. Damn.
okay. Well, let's try again. Gary, how are you doing? It just with the hair. At least you have hair, bro. Like I'm jealous.
See, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but then you want to sit there and say that. So
I mean, it's all good. I'm embracing. I got that LeBron James hairline. I have saw it. Just I cut it off, Gary Johnson.
I'm fighting the good fight until I can't fight it no more. So
There you go. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. But folks, how you guys doing? I didn't even ask. Did I ask?
Yes, me. Gary, what's going
no,
on?
you just came out the bat with the insults. But I'm doing well, hanging in there. Love to talk some sports. Got a lot of things I need to talk Ben about. I know we got a whole section about it, and me and you, Jeff, we're gonna have fun on that one.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, man. So many sporting topics over the last week. So tonight we're going to be discussing our fan polling. Excited to see what we got in the works for that. Some of our favorite NFL upsets, NFL storylines, and as well as NFL power rankings, and so much more. But before I throw it to you, Ben,
Mm-hmm.
there was a little bit of a blindsided situation, um, and I feel like we just got to talk about it because it's a very
Oh, the
interesting.
blind side.
Yes,
I thought you were throwing us like a blind side
no, I've been
curveball. I was like, oh
blindsided.
yeah, the blind side. Yeah,
Where's the
yeah.
fun there? See, he's on
Yes.
fire tonight, Ben. That's all you got to catch on. That's all.
I feel I'm blindsided. I got a lot more in the book,
Man, that's a
but
crazy story. Crazy.
it is, and because Ben, you mentioned in the group text first. Just what are your thoughts about it, man? Because this is just a very interesting
It's
situation that we're in
it's
with this.
so complex that like we can only talk about obviously what we know now. And the one thing that I can't stand that I've seen some chatter is like, why is it just coming out now? Well, the man was focused on his NFL career. Why is he like? I know he's been retired for a couple years now, but while he was playing football, that's his main focus, being the best football player he can be. So this stuff is all in the background. Now, as far as like the whole situation, I think that, and the other part that people don't realize, I don't think, or respect is lawyers, legal stuff, trials, suits, finding documents, getting access to documents. It's not like this. It's not like he woke up yesterday and was like, "Here, look at this document." Like, no, you have to get access. You have to get permission. You have like it. The reason it took this long is to me completely irrelevant. What doesn't change is what we know as of right now is he's alleging, or the actual document says he was never adopted at all, and all the proceeds from the movie went to the Tui family and their kids, millions and millions of dollars, by the way, like millions. And from what we know, Michael Orr got nothing. And not only that, I found it interesting, not even on the money perspective, but that he felt that almost more important to me was he felt that he was depicted in the movie inaccurately, and he felt that that impacted his NFL career because he essentially felt like he was portrayed as dumb because he essentially was. And he's like, teams always had that question, or I would have to answer questions even before I got drafted because they portrayed me as somebody who had a very low IQ, who then teams make an assumption, well, he's not going to understand anything complex. And he's like, it literally impacted my career. And that's a big deal because who knows, his career could have gone a little bit longer. He could have earned even more money in the NFL. So now we're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I think it is a really messed up situation, and more to come. Obviously, as the news come, but that's my initial thoughts. Gary, you wanna jump in here?
I knew there was something fishy about that movie. Like that's the first thing that when I saw the story come out, I'm like, this seemed a little bit too Hollywood for me. Like this seemed like too concocted of a plot. If this is true, I want to make that very clear. Like these are all allegations. We're not siding. I'm not siding one side or the other, but it's a slap in the face to him, like you said, Ben. It affected his money. He, didn't see a penny off of what was a box office hit. Like there are certain things like, and I get it. Everybody will question like why it took so long. And Ben, you broke it down perfectly exactly why it was going to take that long for this news to come out. But you know, if this is true, I mean, there's a special place in hell for the Tui family if that's the case. Like, if this is true, because
Absolutely.
to take a young man's struggle, a young man's life story where the odds really were favoring him ending up dead or in jail or just in a life of crime, and instead he, turns around and has this tremendous, support from his family, and now it turns into a solid college career. It turns into an NFL career. All that movie was all that movie did was just give him more eyes. It wasn't like it wasn't like he saw an uptick in offensive line jersey sales because I'm pretty sure that number stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is true, like there's a lot of people that will have similar stories to this, and you'll start to see them come out little by little.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I'm just going to wrap it up here. The truth is going to come out. There's always three sides. There's both of the people involved sides, and then there's the truth. At the end of the day, the legal process has to play out. Ben, to your point, legal processes take up to of years, litigation, discovery. Evidence. When you're talking about all this money, you're talking about transactions and all of that. So maybe he had an advice of counsel to not really speak on it. And now that the facts have kind of permeated to the forefront, we'll see. But overall, terrible, terrible situation. Ben, this MLB polling and NHL, really curious to see what the results are, sir. Take it away.
So we just refreshed for someone who hasn't listened in the past. We're going the four sports, the best teams not to win a championship in that specific year. We're picking 8 teams, and everybody who cares and wants to vote is voting, and everyone matters. So not to downplay it, everyone's vote matters. We want people to vote. Basketball is a small recap. Golden State 73-9, Warriors won. This week was baseball, and we only have a sample size of 2, meaning 2 sports, but both sports ended up so far being the best regular season team. In baseball, the finals, and I'm going to call them the Indians because in 1995 they were the Indians. 1995 Cleveland Indians and versus the 2001 Mariners. 2001 Mariners tied the record with 116 wins. And we got 117 votes, which I'm pretty happy with, over 100 votes. And the result, 69 to 31%. So 69% for the 01 Mariners. So in both sports thus far, the best regular season team has been voted as the best team to not win. Like you alluded to, NHL is up next. We already kind of picked the teams, and obviously for obvious reasons, we are saving the NFL for later as it gets closer and closer to the season. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised the Braves, the Braves team did not make it to the finals. But yeah, have at it, Geoff. Throw in your comments.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say that one. I mean, the Braves one is definitely interesting. I think that when it really kind of comes to some of this, and just kind of based on just some of the comments that we've been seeing, a lot of it is just like fandom of certain players, right? Maybe not necessarily like the whole team, right? Like there's going to be certain players on those Braves teams, like you think about like Tom Glavine or Schmaltz, like those Braves teams had some really great teams. But Gary, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean that's kind of where I was going to go with that. When you look at I think, and even in this case with the Mariners as a franchise, you look at the generational talent that has come through that franchise, and for all that talent, you also had the greatest regular season in MLB history and no championship to show for it. It's just consistently that was peak Mariners. That was the 01 team is the peak Mariner story. All the talent in the world and nothing to show for it. I say the 95 Indians, they were good. But I also have to think back to around 95. I was still kind of lost in the sauce regarding baseball because there just was, there wasn't that passion. We were just coming off the strike. So there wasn't the same level of interest. And frankly, once the Yankees lost to the same Mariners team, you're a New York fan, you're not going to really pay attention past that point. But yeah, the 01 Mariners is the peak of exactly what the Seattle Mariners franchise has been pretty much since its inception, but really the late 90s and early 2000s period, that was the peak, and they have done literally nothing since.
Yeah, and Marissa, get back on it. But I tell you, here in Seattle, the one thing that everyone talks about is that team. There are you can't go a game that you ever go there. There's going to be some type of just rendition or replaying of a game from that season. It's like living back in the heyday, and I'm just like, guys, you guys didn't win it, but I get it. I get it. It's going to be.
I just wanted to say on the Braves. I know we were talking about it a little bit. Pretty soon, if not now, we should get into a discussion of the Dodgers being the Braves of the 90s. The Dodgers just win and win and win and win. They only have one ring. I think they've made it 3 times. I think at least twice, but they only won once. So it's like they are those 90s Braves teams, dominant regular seasons. They only have one ring in this, Kershaw run.
Do we even call that a championship, though?
You have to.
I mean, yes, they won. So, yes.
I don't know. It
was very interesting. 2020, the 4 major sports championships either went to LA or Tampa. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that, I don't know. It just, I don't know. Were they truly the best team? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they won it, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, well, let's proceed. Marissa will come back from hiding at some point. So let's look about one word segment. So Geoff, myself, I'm that guy. I'm gonna say a one word, and
no, you want us to answer you with one word.
Yeah, can you give me a second? I'm getting my thoughts here. I'm trying to multitask. That's what happens here. So we're gonna do one word. Marissa, how you doing?
Hello. Belly is full. I am good. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, DTS crew. Episode 99. I'm excited about next week and what's going to be ahead. No, I tore that food up.
You know darn well, okay, that when you come here, you're supposed to ship me some leftovers. I was expecting it, something. The level of disrespect is so enormous. But go ahead.
They put brisket in front of me and.
Okay, sounds good. So it's all good. So we're gonna keep this thing going here. Now I got something for you, Marissa, just for that. So we're gonna do, Ben and I, we were talking about just one word, and I want to do this because I think it's gonna be funny with the type of words that you guys are gonna be coming up with, but 2, it's just gonna be a little bit. It's gonna add a little bit of spice. So the first one that I want to do here One word to describe the Lions' chances of actually having a defense that shows up this season. Marissa, I'm going to throw it to you. One word to describe the Lions' chances of actually having a defense that shows up.
Hopefully. Everything looks so good. The first preseason game, I've watched that preseason game at least 3 times. I'm not going to even talk about the quarterback that they put in because, again, I believe that he'll get cut. But what I saw throughout the game and what the defense did and how they continue to evolve quarter from quarter, it was mixed in with some of them that are already starters versus ones that, are trying to get a roster spot. I'm hopeful. I am. I really am. I mean, we got Kansas City coming out the box. So this is game 1. So we got to be on all cylinders. So I'm hopeful that, they pick up where they left off and then, but better. That's what I got.
And I was just saying, because wanted to throw you a little bit of a bone here, because there's a lot of excitement about these Lions, and it's just like Ben, it's
tickets sold out for the first time ever in the existence of the Lions, and there's a wait list going into next year. That's not about putting all your eggs in one basket. I don't know what it is. I got a couple of sips left of the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. I haven't slammed down the whole pitcher yet. I just, I'm excited about this season, but I'm cautious.
It's going to be the defense. That's going to be the issue. Y'all go put up some points.
Yeah.
But Ben, one word to describe the Lions defense actually showing up, their chances.
Be nice, because we play you on the 30th of December, Ben, so don't start.
I'm gonna cheat and use an acronym instead of a word. TBD. TBD.
Okay. Why TBD? What are your thoughts, Ben? Just speak truth.
You don't want that smoke.
You
don't want that smoke.
I also was gonna say Hutchinson dependent, like use someone's name and make a dash, but then I'm like, it's actually not Hutchinson dependent because he was amazing last year and their defense was still crap. So it's more so the pieces around Hutchinson, and I think that they will be better. I mean, with their offense, they only need to be like average. If the defense is average and the offense is top 10, you're looking at 11 wins right there. 10, 11
there
wins.
You go.
So they just need to be average.
I'm rooting for them. Jabari Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to put up some numbers. We'll see. But we'll see. Garrett, your thoughts. One word.
I'm gonna go with the religious route. Say prayerfully. Okay. I'm praying that defense shows up because I want to see somebody different other than Fugazi ass Minnesota as the team that wins the NFC North.
Amen.
Like, I know everybody's kind of on this bearish train, like, oh, Justin Fields has a few weapons. I'm like, they're still trash. I look at Golden State, Green Bay, and I'm like, yeah, no, they're punting on 2024. They're in rebuilding mode. This is the Lions division to lose.
Yep.
Like, it's right there for them. But the biggest question mark is their defense. Offensively, I think they'll be just fine. They're going to put up a lot of points. They have to not give up a lot of points too, and if they can do that, then, I mean, hell, the sky's the limit. I think 10 wins, 11 wins is within their grasp, but prayerfully, their defense will come through.
Okay. I'm going to say, to describe it, inches. That's what it's going to come down to. Inches. They have that phrase, death by inches. And I was going to go with another word, but then Gary had mentioned about the offense. I still get nervous, Marissa, about the type of Jared Goff that we're going to see. Although he is the number 1 overall draft pick, there could be some times where he just looks like a deer in headlights and doesn't show up in the big moments. And I think that he's still going to be a guy that's going to put up a lot of numbers, but it's the moments that's really going to do that. So how confident are you, Marissa, in Jared Goff's ability to make a sustained run in the key moments for your team?
I'm at 75%. I mean, I'm a realist. I mean, I've had this discussion with other Lions fans and those that have been dedicated to this team and what they saw from last year, which was an incredible run down the stretch. And, the sweep the Green Bay Packers was absolutely amazing. And the last memory that, Discount Double Check will have now that he's with the Jets. But with all that being said, you are correct. Which Jared Goff is going to show up? Are we going to see the Jared Goff that we saw down the stretch that was making plays and keeping us all on edge and actually throwing confident throws? Or are we going to, see again what the beginning of last season where it was a struggle? I mean, what improvements? And I saw in the comments, one word to describe this team: improved. I want to put that towards him. What am I going to see from last season to this season that he has taken with him? And hopefully the next game that we see him in versus the Jaguars, who look pretty dang good. Yes, I said this, Jaguars fans, because after the show, some of y'all did come after me with the heat. And they beat the Cowboys. Sorry, Ben. I know it's a preseason game. But they're looking confident and they're looking good. So I'll see. Hopefully we'll see shades of him in better than last season. Hopefully when they play the Jags.
Sorry, Marissa. I was just gonna say Jared Goff seems to be, when everything around him is great, he's great. Like
yes.
The year that the Rams made the Super Bowl, his offensive line was top 5 in the league. The Detroit Lions right now have a top 5 offensive line. So if you can protect him, he looks like a superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just when he gets
that's
pressure,
what it boils down to.
And when he gets pressure, he's literally like bottom 5 in the league. Like just any stat you want to throw out there, when he gets pressure in his face, he's horrible.
He reminds me of when I played fantasy football for the first time a long time ago, and I drafted a quarterback that parts of me was regretting and parts of me was like, oh my gosh, I can't, he finally got it together. And that was Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was that type of quarterback. He could throw. He could throw in the pocket. He was great, under pressure. But then it was like some questionable throws that he had. You didn't know which court Kurt Warner would show up during the games that he needed to show up in to get their team to the postseason. Some of that reminds me of Jared Goff when he goes down to his decision making of who he's going to throw to, and that offensive line, like you guys said, they have to protect him. Literally, the phrase "protect them at all costs." That's what they need to do this season, especially with their schedule that they have out the gate. Again, Kansas City is no joke, and it's at Kansas City, and I've been to their stadium, and it is loud.
Nice. Yeah, let's. It's gonna be fun. Detroit Lions. Ben, this one's for you. One word to describe Zeke signing with the Patriots. That's all for you. That's a gift.
He paused.
Okay, we'll wait.
That'd be my word. Yeah.
Marginal.
Okay.
As in marginal improvement. The Patriots team is this much better.
Okay.
That's all I can go to.
Okay. Gary?
I said it. My words.
Okay. Okay. I like it. Okay. All right. Facts. I'll take that. Marissa?
Interesting.
Man.
And Willie.
Like with Zeke, I'm just going to say fresh. He's got a fresh haircut. So I'll just say that. It'd be a nice new fresh start for him. But I mean, I don't think we need to spend too much time on that. That one's just going to be, we'll see.
He gets his college number. He gets the cut that he had when he was in Ohio State.
There you go.
But this is late 20s Zeke versus what we saw at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Thanks for saying Ohio State. That
was for you. That was you. I didn't bring you back. I didn't bring you back any dinner, so therefore I will say.
Here we go.
To say that for you.
No worries. I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball on this one. One word to describe Cal and Stanford potentially moving to the ACC. This one is a little bit peculiar to me. And Ben, looks like you have a visitor behind you there. I'm gonna throw it to you, Marissa. What like this one is just kind of like, all right, we're
go first on this one.
Go for it.
Go first on because
my word is trash. My word is trash.
Okay. I will take that. Gary.
Confusing. Like, again, most people know I'm not really big. I don't care much about college sports, but I'm just like, when I heard the idea of Cal and Stanford going to the ACC, I'm like, ACC. Okay, so the ACC, when I grew up, that was Duke, North Carolina, NC State, schools of that nature. Where the hell does Cal and Stanford fit into all that? Like, that's very much not the Atlantic coast. That's the Pacific coast. I know which coast they're on. I'm like, there's a level of like, why are we doing this? And then, of course, I remember it's money. That's all this is. It's a money-hungry move, but I'm going to go with my word being confusing.
Okay. Reprehensible. Okay. I like that. Yeah, this one is, I'm just going to say peculiar. I get wanting to be able to expand, but ACC doesn't. You're called the Atlantic Coast Conference, and then you're going to have 2 Pacific teams. So, right, if you're the Big Ten, you don't necessarily have to change it because I don't think that you need to have 10 schools in the Big Ten. But for 2 Pacific schools to come all the way over, like that just – I mean, that's a good question. Anyone surprised anyone wants Clemson in their conference besides the ACC? Why do you guys think that is? I'm curious. That's a good question. Then we'll be done with the one word. Any thoughts that come to mind on this one? I like this one. Ben, I feel like you have some thoughts.
That's a great question.
Anyone's surprised no one wants Clemson in their conference? Honestly, I think that people don't like the coach and like the program sort of and just like what have they done? What have you done for me lately?
Clemson has been that school the last several years that has the easy schedule. Just to add that in there.
They had Deshaun Watson, they had Trevor Lawrence, and once they lost Lawrence, they haven't been anywhere close to the playoffs. So
yeah,
DJ Uiagalelei did nothing for them, and he transferred schools.
And I really think there's a lot of people don't like Dabo Swinney because he is cocky and he talks, he chirps a lot, and he is cocky, really, really cocky. So I think a lot of people don't like Clemson, especially the coach.
Yeah, this one's a little bit surprising. I'm not sure. Let me just throw out one more here for real quick, and then we'll be done. This one, Warner described Anthony Richardson being named the Indy starter. I mean, I would say not surprising, but what does his future outlook bring? And Ben, I know how much you're in love with this guy. He's like your best friend.
I think he's going to be out of the league in 5 years.
Oh wow!
He's just, man, I know people can improve. I know Josh Allen was like 56% at Wyoming and even in his first year in the NFL. But like, man, I watched a lot of Florida football, and it wasn't just like the hard passes. Guys would be open 10 yards here and he'd throw it at their feet. Like his accuracy is awful. I just, man, he can prove me wrong. Any athlete can prove all of us wrong, but I think he's going to be a huge bust. I think he's going to be like Jake Locker, Ryan Leaf, like Manziel. Like man, I just really, really don't believe in him. When you feel a certain way, you shouldn't be afraid to say it. And I just really don't see a good future for him at all. You can do anything at the combine. You can leap and you can do this. What happens when you get pressured? What happens in the game? But I don't know. I think it's going to be a big flop. Big flop.
Okay, Marissa, take it away. I feel like you got some thoughts on that.
Wow,
let's get to upsets after this. Go ahead, Marissa.
I don't know if I could put it in one word. I would just say risk. I mean, who else are you going to have to start for that team? You're literally starting all over because Jim Irsay's trigger pull of putting a first-time ever head coach last season that only won one game for him, and that was Jeff Saturday, because they're just buddies. This is a team that's literally starting all over, and Anthony Richardson has to be that guy that goes out there to prove something. So I think this is going to be a risk. I mean, again, we saw the risk last season that didn't pay off. I don't think he's going to be a bust like Ben said. I think he's going to struggle. We're probably going to see him struggle kind of like a Malik Willis for the Titans. That right there is, concerning to me if he's ever going to be a starter, because of the first game that we saw him be in preseason. But Richardson will struggle. We'll see. The Colts definitely will not make the postseason. There's going to be a lot of issues going on with that team. And we'll see them in the top 5 to get their draft pick next season. So
8 years in a row they've started a new quarterback. 8 years.
I mean, they could be. They could be
starting quarterback.
They could be. They could be the Cleveland Browns that had the island of misfit quarterbacks. I mean. But you got Deshaun Watson. We'll see what he does. But, it took them so many quarterbacks to figure it out, i.e., look at the quarterback special that's on about Johnny Manziel. I digress.
Good one, by the way. Pretty good.
Very good one. I did watch it. Very good.
All I'm going to say is the difference between Johnny Manziel and Reggie Bush are totally 2 separate situations. So there's a lot of smoke out in the clouds about why Reggie Bush coming back versus Johnny Manziel. High level, we can sit there and say, I'm sorry, Gary, that's my gripe. Okay, stop it. The Reggie Bush, Johnny Manziel are completely 2 different situations. Understand and read your facts before you try to say what y'all trying to say. Everything ain't what it looks like. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that one. But anyway, Gary, take it away and then go with upsets after your one-word thought on your cousin, Anthony Richardson.
Your cousin.
So we've gone from being the third cousin to Rodney King to the cousin of Anthony Richardson.
Gary, you're the legend. Gary's the legend Johnson.
I say you've upgraded, Gary.
Related to everybody.
I say you've
Notice how he's
upgraded,
got the hat on now.
Starting from the
you made me feel so confident on my hair since you hat back on. But
it's all out of respect. I'm here to help you out. I'm here. I support you. But
that's awesome.
Thank you. But anyway, to Anthony Richardson as a starter for the Colts, that's like this team's in a rebuilding mode.
Mm-hmm.
They need it doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to be anything good. I don't think he needs to be anything spectacular. He just needs to stay upright long enough, and he'll have a decent little run there. And if they can actually get good, and if he can improve after year 1, because year 1's going to be whatever it is, but it's year 2 that we have to really look at. If he can show any kind of signs of improvement, then hell, he might actually have a career. Maybe not be in Indy, might be elsewhere as a journeyman, but he had. I don't want to sit there and say he's going to go the Jamarcus Russell route, because that's easily on the table too. But I think there's enough. He has just enough talent that teams will take a look at him if he shows just an iota of improvement from year 1 to year 2. So this year doesn't really matter. It's going to be a wash because that team sucks anyway.
And Gary, real quick, and then we're going to throw it to you for upsets. I want to throw this question to you. Do you feel that the Colts upwards of the last 2 or 3 years kind of threw away their window to make a run? I mean, you talk about a team that literally had a team ready. It was just 2 years ago that we were talking about this team making a deep run in the AFC, and then that has just completely gone hogwash.
They've been so up and down and not really sure of themselves, a lack of identity since Andrew Luck's retirement. I think they've been kind of they should be. That team plus an Andrew Luck is a Super Bowl contender. But because they didn't have that, and they've had such all right, let's throw this guy in. Let's throw Jacoby Brissett in and see what happens there. Let's throw Phil Rivers at the very end there and see what we can get out of him. They haven't had the ability. They just they were almost shell-shocked from Andrew Luck's retirement. They never were able to fully recover. And now they realize, Jim Irsay realizes like we need to blow this up and start over and figure this out all over again, because this, not this rebuilding, but this retooling, this reconfiguring without really rebuilding isn't it. Sometimes you got to blow the whole thing up and start from scratch. And even if your quarterback is less than, maybe you can develop him into something if you have the right people around him. And this gives Indy the opportunity to kind of rebuild the organization from the ground up. And hell, they might have backed into having the quarterback. We don't know that yet, but it could happen.
Yeah, I mean that's real. I mean, those are all very, very, very good questions. But go ahead, Gary, with your upsets. I know you were
because Mercy, you had asked, is Andrew Luck, despite the short career, a Pro Football Hall of Famer? His numbers were better than Joe Namath's, and Joe Namath was a first ballot Hall of Famer. So I consider that like the Mendoza line in football. Like, if you can at least produce better than Joe Namath's career numbers, then you should be a Hall of Famer, at least in that discussion. I understand, like, the short career makes it harder, but to that I say, and I don't compare the two because it's two different positions, two different overall impacts on the game, but Jim Brown wasn't in the game that long.
Calvin Johnson, same thing.
Calvin Johnson wasn't in the game that long.
Jonathan Ogden
was in the game that long. Barry Sanders technically wasn't in the game that long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for when running backs were actually running backs, he wasn't really in the game that long. So, like, a lot of these players that we mentioned, if you have enough of an impact in a short amount of time, like, sure. So, yeah, I think he would be a Hall of Famer in my opinion. So now we're talking about my three favorite upsets. One is pretty obvious, Super Bowl 42.
Yes, sir.
No, that's my number one favorite. Obviously, being a Giants fan is pretty obvious, but because where we went to school and who we were surrounded by. Marissa, for perspective, we went to school in Rhode Island, so we were surrounded by Patriot fans.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we're going 19-0, we're going to kick the Giants' asses. We already beat them during the regular season.
A lot of chirping that year, yes.
And fair enough, because the Giants, yes, like, they were good, but like, they weren't supposed to go on the run that they went on. Mm-hmm. And then they went on the run they went on. And to see an entire city go silent in one evening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember. I know I'm a Cowboys fan. My hatred for the Patriots exceeds my hatred for the Giants and the Eagles. So oh my God. And I was still in Mass at the time, and oh boy, did I mess with some people. Oh my God, it was great.
Renaissance Hall was super silent that night, because it was me and one other person on my floor that was a Giants fan, because they were both from New York. And we were talking so much shit for weeks because it was, y'all supposed to be the perfect team. And we said F perfection, because that's what we do here. So that's one. Number two, I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2018 NFL playoffs. I think that one was more of an upset because, yes, Jacksonville, that was that lovely time when they were Saxonville, and it was the whole thing that their defense carried the day. But you thought, this is Ben Roethlisberger, yes, heading towards the end, but it's Ben Roethlisberger with a loaded roster and Mike Tomlin and the Jags team that made the playoffs. That was the first time in over 15, 16 years at that point that they made the playoffs. So to see them go into Heinz Field, which is I love Heinz Field. I'll say that right now. But if you're not a Steelers fan, it is not a fun place to be at. And then they went into Heinz Field, and while, yes, the final score is 45-42, they got punched in the mouth for most of that game. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh at the time, that they had the arguably best wide receiver in the game at the time, Antonio Brown, and arguably the best running back in the game, Le'Veon Bell. And Roethlisberger was still pretty good. He didn't really fall off until like 2 years after that. So So yeah, that's a big upset. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, I appreciate that. And then the third one, since I didn't know we would do all NFL and NFL and NCAA, so my third one is actually NCAA. And Marissa, I'm sorry, but Appalachian State.
Oh yes,
that's a good one. That's a good one. Great
and the reason why is because that was the first. I've always been a fan of sports, but the Sports Center highlights that came from that was really what made me a true fan. Just because, first off, I didn't know where the hell Appalachian State was to begin with, and then to read the story, the stuff that came out afterwards. Okay, this is why people love sports, because you never know when things like this happen. So yes, Super Bowl 42, Jaguars over the Steelers, and then Appalachian State.
Okay.
Nice.
Gary, that was a great one. Anytime we can, it's a good one with the Appalachian State one. Marissa, I'm sure that's one you really do appreciate. I'm sorry,
I really didn't want to bring it up.
Because here's the thing. That was on my list. That was number one. And the reason that I don't remember after that, my cousin and her husband, God rest both of their souls, they were at that game and called me. My cousin was a Michigan State fan. And my cousin, her husband was a Michigan fan, and he sat there until all the fans left. I don't know what happened after that field goal went through, and we just stunk up the joint afterwards. But I remember that I looked up, and the remote control that I had was in 1,000 pieces. So it was everywhere. I had my neighbor check on me. I do a wellness check on me to make sure I was okay. It was that serious. Yes, that was on the list. Number 2 was the Giants defeating the undefeated Patriots. I actually call it the undefeated Patriots fans that was running their gums literally the whole entire season. So they thought that this was going to be an easy win and hoist a trophy and declare their Lord and Savior, lowercase Tom Brady, the ultimate greatest football of all time. And then they just forgot about the other Manning brother named Eli.
They lost to a Manning brother in back-to-back years. I need everybody to remember that.
Yes.
They lost to Peyton Manning in the 06 AFC Championship, and then turned around and lost to his kid brother that everybody thought sucked out loud the following year.
They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the name Eli Manning, or do they want to hear David Tyree? To this day, so they.
The best part about David Tyree is he never played another game.
Never played another game.
That was the last game.
That was the mic drop. That was the walk off.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. But injuries, that was it. He was done.
He is a forever New York hero. And that's all. He walked off on that, and that's it. That's all he needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Marissa, what you got? What's the third one?
And my last one was at the game that I had the honor and privilege of being at in 1998. It was Ohio versus Michigan.
Uh-oh. Mercy, you're kind of in and out there.
Yeah,
am I back in?
You're kind of in and out there. Yeah, we can hear you.
Until a lackluster Sparty team somehow found a way to pull a 17-3.
It's like you're in and out. You're in and out there.
We got nothing, Marissa.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. We'll.
In and out.
We'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you. Okay. Okay. Well, Ben, take it away, sir.
So, Gary, I'm glad you brought in college football because 2 of my 3 are college football. So I'm going to start with my all-time favorite, and Boise State, Oklahoma. Just an amazing game. One of my favorite games ever, just in general.
Oh, yes.
So much excitement. I mean, you got the Statue of Liberty, hook and ladder, and this was interesting. I didn't do too much, but in that game, it went to overtime. But in the last 86 seconds of the fourth quarter, 22 points combined. 22 points in less than 90 seconds. Like, that's exciting. Like that keeps you on the edge of your seat. So that's one of my favorite games ever, period. The second one I had was Beast Mode is Born. Marshawn Lynch in the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks took down the 11-5 Saints. And obviously the iconic run by Marshawn Lynch. So Beast Mode is Born. And then Stanford versus USC. USC was 41-point favorites.
That's right. Yes.
41-point favorites. That's all right. I knew there'd be some repetition. That's fine. 41-point favorites. And you lost. That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah, so Michigan versus App State was three touchdown favorites.
I think it was what I saw. I think it was 27 points when I was doing a little research. I think it was 27 points was the line. But yeah, 41 points. That's nuts.
Yeah, I remember that. But Marissa, as you were breaking up there.
Sorry about that.
The third one.
The third one, the 1998 Michigan State, Ohio State. Ohio State was number 1 ranked, and they played an unseeded, unranked Michigan State team. Michigan State came back from 17-3 down to win the game. And I happened to be at that game, and to see the sea of dejected scarlet and gray near me as they were exiting the tunnel early in shock and disdain. Nevertheless, though, Ohio State did go and play Texas A&M. They did keep the number 2 ranking, and Michigan State, that would be the last big upset because they ended the season 6-6 and did not go to a bowl. But the day the Sparty fans were actually feeling themselves, and then they just collapsed. And then Michigan did beat them that season too. So,
sports. Gotta love it. I think the first one that stands out for me is that USC team that lost to Texas in the 2005 season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, USC, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. How super talented was that team? And then for them to lose. For NCAA football, I'm gonna go a little bit of a different one here. September 2nd, 2017, Howard versus UNLV. They were favored. UNLV paid $600,000.
Yes,
right, as a guaranteed game. They were UNLV was favored so high that Vegas didn't even put a point spread on this. But people had them as like a 45-point favorite, and then Howard beats them 43-40.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just for that, to not even have a point spread. And then I'm going to go with a different one here because Ben took mine. And I'm going to go, there's so many good ones here, but I think one that really stands out is November 3rd of 2007, Navy versus Notre Dame. Navy winning 46-44. You talk about the 43 years between those two and just the rivalry and just all of that. And for Navy to win that game, I forgot how much of a win streak Notre Dame had against Navy. But for Navy to pull that off was just a truly great upset. And a lot of Navy fans continue to talk about that. But let's kind of keep this thing going.
The other one that none of us mentioned, and I hate the Patriots, so I don't even want to mention it, but beating the Rams in 2001, that was a huge upset.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
That was with the Patriots, with all the patriotism during that time too. There's just so much that was just, man. And that Rams team, they went 14-12, had the most points. I think scored that.
What was the nickname? Turf? Something Turf?
Greatest show on turf.
Greatest show on turf.
There we go.
Yeah, greatest show on turf.
Jeff, I'm surprised you did not mention the upset of your Buckeyes pulling the stunner during the national championship in 2002 with the heavily favored Miami. The Maurice Claret Bowl. I'm surprised you didn't mention that.
Claret and Willis McGahee from Miami.
Yeah, Willis McGahee from Miami.
That one was just, I try to go a little bit off narrative. I could have done that one, but I'm like, I want to give some HBCU love.
There you go.
Now and then.
We'll call that a runner-up.
But hey, I tell you, that was one of the reasons why I started to become a Buckeye fan, was just because of that game. We had Craig Krenzel was the quarterback.
Craig Krenzel.
I think it was. Craig Krenzel. Everyone. I remember Sean May on ESPN had said that, this game is going to be blown up by 35 points. Miami should just show up for a halftime and then just be done. And no one gave them a chance, but had to come back. Yeah. But Ben, let's go to you here on these storylines here. I wanted us to just talk about storylines that each of us are just kind of following. Doesn't have to be based on stats, doesn't have to really be based on anything, but just kind of like a gut feeling. What's one storyline to you that you're monitoring, you're watching closely for during the NFL season?
Yeah. Kellen Moore going to the Chargers.
Took me again, man.
Well, I could go another way.
Go ahead.
I'll give you two. So I'll give you two. So Kellen Moore going to the Chargers. Being a Cowboys fan, I know how much success we had with Kellen Moore. But there's one thing that any Cowboys fan will tell you, any rational one, which there aren't many, but any rational Cowboys fan would tell you some weeks Kellen Moore looked like the best offensive coordinator in the league, and then other weeks he looked like one of the worst five. Mm-hmm. And I there's no explanation for it. I can't be like 95% of everyone and blame Jerry Jones. No, that's just very easy to say and sounds good, but yeah, there would be some games where he would call that were basically perfect. Nobody could have stopped them. Like the Vikings game last year. I know the Vikings were, their defense was blah, but that was a perfect game call. And then another one, there's a couple others that stand out, but there's certain weeks where I'm like, man, that was genius. Those plays were, and then other weeks you're like, can you do something else? You're extremely predictable. So him, and then obviously Justin Herbert just got paid big money. He's, very talented. He earned it. But that comes with pressure. So there's pressure to me on Moore and on Herbert, because Kellen Moore most likely aspires to be a head coach. And he puts together another season or two of a top 3 offense in the league. He's probably going to get that opportunity. So that one, and I'll give you another one. The Ravens. Are they true Super Bowl contenders? If their guys are healthy, obviously. But are they that good? Or are they really good, but not good enough to make the Super Bowl? So I think that's a big one, to see how great or good the Ravens can be.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. Those are all good ones, and you keep taking mine. Just quit with the malarkey. Ben, the one that really stands out to me is Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah,
Eric Bieniemy. What Ron Rivera had said as the coach during the interview, you've been a head coach for a while, and the last thing you ever want to do is give the media.
Oh yeah, that was a big mistake. That was a
layups for them to start talking about it. You're trying to, to me, it's you're trying to move into a new direction with new ownership, with new ownership, a new direction, right? And then for him to say that, and then to highlight Eric Bieniemy's intensity, and for the media to be able to create stories about how he's gotten passed over all these jobs. Now it's going to be heightened, everything that he does, and the type of excellence and command. And I took that one a little bit personal, because Eric Bieniemy deserves a head coaching job at this point. There should be no reason why he does not have a job. Fact. He has talked the talk and he's walked the walk. And now that you have this articles and these things talking about his quote unquote aggression and his level of anger, for me, based on my perspective, that annoys the hell out of me. And I just think that Ron Rivera didn't do his team any favors by that one. But that one really, 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 really bothered me, and really kind of got under my skin, Marissa.
I would say this.
Go ahead, Marissa.
Well, I was going to say this, and to add on to it, the teams that pass them over, if they do not perform well and the Commanders end up having the season that's going to surprise people, those owners are going to punch air. And they're going to punch air literally as hard as they can. for passing up that man. I thought about that for weeks when he went on and joined that organization. Everybody knows Andy Reid was not going to step down for a while from Kansas City Chiefs, and people that were saying in the media that he was waiting for, him to be the next successor of Andy Reid. That was foolish talk. But anyway, I really hope that, he gets that opportunity to be a head coach. Mine is, if a chip on your shoulder was a person, is Derek Carr. What he's doing in the Saints right now and what he did against the Cowboys. Sorry, Ben. I think that we're going to see a very dangerous, improved New Orleans Saints team coming up in the season. This is a contrast from when he was with Vegas versus now. I'm thinking even though we saw a little bit of
expectations.
True.
Expectations are much lower than they were.
Well, I think they're letting Derek Carr play, and he doesn't have that pressure on like he did in Vegas. Obviously, number one, 2 different coaching, 2 different perspectives, 2 different teams. 2, they're just basically going to let him unleash that ball because he can throw, he can play. And 3, I think that he's going to have some better, if not confident, decision making when it comes to passing in the pocket. That offensive line looks pretty dang good, and he's going to play these games against his opponents, and he's going to lose to the Lions, unfortunately, by field goal. I said it. But the New Orleans Saints team needs to be a team that people do not need to sleep on this season, and it's going to be Derek Carr, and he's going to come out to the pissosity level of pretty much 2 middle fingers to the sky to his former team, and how pretty much that he feels they did not have his back going past the last few years.
I mean, you go from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Seems like a lateral move.
I was getting ready to say that.
I think downgrade too. Yeah, Derek Carr. Derek Carr has shown at times to be like at his best. He's one of the top 8 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
like at his absolute best. He's outside of the top 5, even at his best. But he's in that 8 to 10 range when he's playing well.
When he's playing well is the key.
He's playing well, but
he plays a full season. When's the last time he played a full season, gentlemen? I'll wait.
I believe
he's only gotten hurt that
one. The last time the Raiders had made the playoffs.
I think you're right.
The last time the Raiders made the playoffs, which I believe was 2016.
16.
Yeah, we're 12 before that year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were all prepared to say, oh, Derek Carr is coming. The future's coming. The Raiders are they're going to be a champion, and then it never happened.
Yeah, it never happened.
I mean, he's not a scrub. That's all I'm saying. When you could throw multiple seasons of 4,000 yards, I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying like Derek Carr is kind of in the Kirk Cousins, maybe a little bit above as far as just he's not a scrub. But again, what defines you are the moments at quarterback, not the season stats. Like Pat Mahomes has the stats and the moments to back it up, just like Jalen Hurts. That's the difference when it comes to tiers of quarterbacks. So Derek Carr, a very journeyman quarterback. He ain't going to give you the single all the time or a home run, but he'll give you a double and put some runners in scoring position for the next batter to come up. But we'll see. But Gary, what's the storyline for you?
Just how bad the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to be. No, Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield. That's a battle of undesirables if there ever was one.
One piece of trash versus another piece of trash.
The Colts are basically saying right now, hold my beer. Continue.
It's a hefty bag versus a glad bag. That's the difference.
That's awesome. Exactly.
No, it's like a green colored trash bag and a black colored trash bag.
Exactly. The same shit. But,
that's awesome.
Now that I got that out the way, honestly, besides obviously New York and you have interest with the Jets and everything they've done. Now they got Dalvin Cook as well. There's interest there. You got the Giants seeing if we can capitalize on our success from last season. But the team that I'm really interested in looking at right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I just feel like they're this team that, how I just talked about the Colts needing to not necessarily retinker, but they need to just do a complete rebuild. The Pittsburgh Steelers seem to just need a good retinkering because they're just built that way. Like, they've historically been built that way where they don't need to fully blow up a team. They just need to, like, pick a few right pieces, especially on defense. And boy, did they do that right this past offseason. So, and then I look at Pickett, I look at Najee Harris, I look at that wide receiver core. I'm looking at that team and I'm going like, yeah, they may be the third best team in the AFC North, but like the third best team in the AFC North might still end up getting you a 4 or 5 seed in the AFC. So like, that's a team and a coach that they don't know how to stay down. They don't know how to stay down and stay out of it. They can have an off season, but even their off season, what they end up 8-1.
Right.
That's the season.
And they draft really, really well.
Yes, they do.
The Steelers. I look at Najee Harris. You look into 2021, he had over 330 carries, which was very good in top 5 numbers. The last season, he had his injury, and a lot of people thought that was attributed to his downfall. But he still was 5th in overall touches as a running back last season, but he just wasn't efficient. So he needs to keep this team going if they're going to be in any type of contention this season. Yeah. And Kenny Pickett, team with a lot of questions. But let's go here with these rankings here, and I'm just going to go real quick, just 10-1, and I think you guys can provide the sauce. I'm going 10 Jacksonville, 9 Miami, 8 Jets, 7 Cowboys, 6 Ravens, 5 Buffalo, 4 49ers. I was kind of going between those two. Number 3 Bengals, 2 Eagles, and 1 is that team in the state of Missouri. In the state of Missouri, we'll just go with that. But Ben, take it away, sir. I think Gary, and then we can go with your gripes after that if Marissa doesn't come back.
So I'll go 10-1 like you did. Pretty similar, but we got Chargers 10, Jets 9, Cowboys 8, Ravens 7, Miami 6, Bills 5, Bengals 4, 49ers 3, Eagles 2, Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs 1. Hey, Geoff, this might be the year that you beat them once. Might be.
Look, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this now. The day that we beat the Chiefs, I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's coming this year.
It's going to be a celebration.
This year. It's happening this year.
We'll see. But Gary, your top 10, then Marissa.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I wrote it out.
Remember the rule.
Forgive me because my service here, it's raining over here, so that's why I keep kicking me.
No worries.
Okay. So here we go. 10-1. Because I'm a homer for this one. 10 is the Giants, 9 Chargers, 8 Cowboys, 7 Ravens, 6 Jets, 5 Bills, 4 49ers, 3 Bengals, 2 Eagles, and 1 Kansas City. See, I didn't say Chiefs, Geoff.
You followed your rule.
You just said it.
Well, he did that on purpose. He followed
disrespectful. You were just rude and disrespectful.
No, you came at me from the minute the show came on. So,
bro, I did. It just slipped out, bro. It just slipped out. I mean, I can't help if you got a weed whacker on top of your head.
That's how the Chiefs just slipped out of my mouth. Sorry.
Okay, it's all good.
Sorry about that.
So, do your sons play hide and go seek behind that bush on top of your head before you go to sleep? Before they go to sleep?
Wow.
Respect. I'm just asking.
Yes. Have fun with the 6-11 record this season.
Oh, I'm so hurt. I'm. Oh God. I mean, we've had how many losing seasons? I'm just saying. But you guys. Well, anyways, I was just gonna say you guys are gonna be pretty good, I think. You will see, but I know that we're doing gripes, and I feel like we both need to gripe. Here's all I'm going to say about these Yankees, and then I'll give it to you, Gary. It is time for new leadership. the Yankees are at a pivotal moment in their history where they need to they need to have like a come to Jesus moment about who they are. Terrible signings, terrible contracts. Carlos Rendon again on the IL, and we're stuck with him for another 5 years, 130 something million. Reminds me of the Jacoby Ellsbury contract, which was terrible. Brian Cashman will get another job, but the job don't need to be here. Boone needs to go. The overall philosophy as far as how they're going to be able to have a perennial winner is developing in youth, and just you're New York, you still want to try to compete for championships. That's what makes us different than the Brewers. But we have to come to a point where, are we trying to fix Band-Aids, or can we fix it to where we have a sustained roster, for 5-10 years at a time to be able to contend for a championship? That's all I'm going to say on that, Gary.
We are 2 outs away from going to end up at a record of 60-60.
I was just about to say that.
We're down 5-0 to at the top of the 9th, 1 out.
Mm-hmm.
We are about to be 60-60. We're about to be at 500 after 120 games for the first time, I believe, in 29 years. Almost 30 years since that. I've already admitted that I've punted on this season, because what we all have come to realize, and what I think the Yankees are trying to realize now, they're not good. They're just not a good team. They're not well run. Their manager is a joke. He's trying to be Billy Martin in an era in which Billy Martin would not have the same long leash that he did, which he didn't have much one to begin with. That's how you get fired 5 times. What can I say about Brian? What can I say about Brian Cashman? There's what's left. I don't know if you want to go the Greg Popovich, Bill Belichick route of, he doesn't have to be fired, but there has to be a retirement or a parting of ways or some. He cannot
mutual agreement to part ways.
He can't continue to be the general manager of this franchise. 60-60 is not it. And here we are, because the game just went final. We're not making the playoffs, and sweeping changes have to come. It has to come from it has to be done at management level. It has to be done on the field, because as far as I'm concerned, pretty much everybody except for Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole is expendable.
Yeah, I just looked at the schedule, including tonight. The last 15 games, 4-11.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not
good.
We've all been watching sports enough to know that there are certain franchises that are excluded from tanking a year to be relevant, right? Like Celtics, Lakers, and Dallas Cowboys in football, right? Like every year is their year, even though they haven't won one since 1926. But still, what
1920s.
That's just that. But no,
you're off by about 70 years, but that's fine.
If you're the Cowboys, you are expected to contend for a championship every single year, right? That's what the Yankees are. Any team in New York, for that matter. And I knew that we were not going to be good, but I didn't think we were going to be this bad.
Yeah. It feels so weird to say the Yankees are 500 in August. That's insane. I don't think the three of us have ever said that in our lifetimes.
No.
The last time we said, I saw a post today, and then we'll finish up here. The last time the Yankees had this type of record this deep in the season, Bill Clinton was still president, and Anthony Volpe wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So I don't know, Yankees fans. I don't know. But yeah, that's all we're gonna say on that. And I'm just gonna say this, guys. Before we conclude here, what a strange turn of events for the Tampa Bay Rays and the Baltimore Orioles for their two unique situations. The one Wander Franco situation, we won't speak too much into that, but just something seems off, man. And just from a baseball perspective, a guy that talented, potentially never playing baseball again.
Yeah. And they signed him.
I'm going to leave it at that.
11-year contract. I forget.
$182 million.
Yeah, there we
which
go.
I think is a terrible. That's a terrible contract for him. 11, like you think 11 years, $182 million is like a great contract, but when you think about his future value and his future earnings, he is horrifically underpaid. This is a dude that has 275, 300 million type talent, and they got him for 182 million. That's a terrible contract.
They did the smart thing, and they offered him. They got, first of all, they got him before he truly broke out, and they said, "Listen, we'll give you security. We'll give you 11 years." And he said, "That sounds good." But yeah, if he waited like another, let's say this situation, which we don't know anything, so we're not going to really comment on it because there's still way too much that's not out. But let's say the situation has not happened. He went to them this offseason. You get over 300 million. Easy.
This reminds me, Gary. This reminds me of the Scottie Pippen contract, 7 years, 18 million.
Yeah,
it reminds me of like that type of contract. Like you want security, but 7 years, 18 million. Like I don't know. But
when Jerry Reinsdorf is sitting there telling you don't sign the contract, when the owner is sitting there saying don't sign the contract because he knew that the TV money was coming and that TV money was going to be unprecedented money. Had he just waited just a little bit, then that whole conversation would have been non-existent.
He was like the 90. What was the number? 96th highest paid in the league.
Yeah.
Yep.
96. Yeah.
Crazy. But hey, it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. But guys, appreciate you guys coming on. We're one episode away from episode 100. Yeah, it's gonna be here before you know it. And it's it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Ben, Gary,
we got some guests lined up. We'll do an 8:30.
Yes,
we'll do an 8:30 week, 8:30 to 10.
Indeed. Sounds good. Well, all right, folks, that's all for today. It's been a great episode. Until next time, next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have an episode 100. It's going to be a fantastic show. 100 episodes of Death, Taxes, and Sports. Can't believe it's here. Until next time, folks, be easy and be well.